with regard to Max Weber, is trying to solve some of the problems that arose because of Frederick Taylor's approach to management. And Frederick Taylor's approach to management is scientific, scientific school of thought. And I believe we also looked at an individual called Henry Grant, and he proposes something called a bonus rate system, whereby the more you work, the more you get. And I believe that was that. So, having said that, did you look at advantages of bureaucracy? Advantages of bureaucracy? What about the disadvantages? All right, so let me pick from there advantages of bureaucracy so that you know what are the advantages of bureaucracy. Sometimes people tell you that bureaucracy is bad, but sometimes actually bureaucracy is very, very, very important because it ensures that power is not misused. Advantages of bureaucracy. Last year mwezi wa sita Wednesday uliniambia tulikuwa umeenda wapi, so that is also advantages of bureaucracy. So you'd say something like this. Yeah, guys who are online, I hope mna to receive clearly. Number one, advantage of bureaucracy: less time is wasted in decision making. Less time is wasted in decision making because the policies are well laid down. Because the policies are well laid down. Because the policies are well laid down. And managers simply refer to these policies. Less time is wasted in decision making because the policies are well laid down, and managers simply make reference to these policies. So number one is all about decision making. And remember, when we talk about decision making, we are referring to that function, the first function of management, which is the function of what? The function of what? Planning. Why? Because it's important that we plan. And if the organization does not have certain specific rules on how we are supposed to plan, it may mean that we take forever to plan. But if there are rules that this is what we plan for: finance, marketing, HR, research and development, then it becomes so much easier. Number two, the organization is able to get competent workers. The organization is able to get competent workers. The organization is able to get competent workers since employment is based on merit. The organization is able to get competent workers since the employment is based on merit and therefore high quality production. High quality production. So we are talking about competent workers. When you look at competent workers, that refers us to the function of staffing. It refers us to the function of organizing. We must have competent persons, and therefore if you have competent persons, high quality production. Number three, there is unity of command and direction. There is unity of command and direction. So if there is command, if there is direction, there is the function of directive. And the function of directive is all about providing leadership. Number four, no biasness. No biasness. No biasness. Umesikia no biasness in decision making. No biasness in decision making. Decisions are objective and logical. Decisions are objective and logical. So if the decisions are objective and logical, then that just brings us to what is called equity or fairness. Yes. So if there is bureaucracy, there is going to be fairness. Hello. If you come to a hospital, there is a waiting line or a queue, and there is a system of how you're supposed to see the doctor. Hello. If it's an emergency, there is a door for emergency, which means that there is some sort of order because of bureaucracy. Number 5, it eliminates conflicting duties and responsibilities. It eliminates conflicting duties and responsibilities because the tasks are clearly defined. Because the tasks are clearly defined. Because the tasks are clearly defined. Look at that. That tells us that bureaucracy is an antidote to chaos. This is what is called the chaos theory. Hello, chaos what? Theory. Under chaos theory, we say that an organization is going to be chaos. Huyu anataka hivi, huyu anataka hivi, huyu anataka hivi. Like I'm about to ask you guys before the end of the class, I want us to have an extra class. Hello, this month, before you mwezi ishe. Hello, acha ndo tuona conflicts ni nini ya chaos. Let us meet on Sunday. Let us meet on Saturday. No, let us meet on this. So there will be chaos. Yeah. And if this chaos is not managed, it means at the end of the day, the objectives are not going to be met. Because in an organization, we have a structure, and there are at least 8 or 10 people in this structure. Each of these person has a different way of how they want to achieve the goals. And therefore, that breeds what is called chaos. So to ensure that that chaos is reduced, and the same if tunataka zero chaos, we want to smooth it. No, tunataka tuipunguze because conflict is necessary. No. There are people in life who say, "We sipendi kusumbuana na watu." Are you one of those people? Hello, you're one of those people. Sipendi kusumbuana na watu, sitakangi stress. There is what is called necessary stress. There is what is called necessary conflict, and you can't avoid conflict. You can't. It's like saying, "Sitakuwa napumua." Haji sasa. Individuals have different goals. They have competing goals. Actually, that is one of the things that Soma today under what is called behavioral management. Some of the issues to Tangalia leo under behavioral management. Under behavioral management, we say that people have conflicting interests, and this conflicting interest must be managed. So how do you manage them? You set out a structure that has what is called rules and regulations or policies to be followed, and therefore we talk about an advantage of bureaucracy. So, number 6, it saves management time because there is a high level of discipline. It saves management time because there is a high level of discipline. There are rules. There are rules. There are rules. You look at first world countries. Yeah, they have some advantages because of issues such as because there are certain principles that have been laid in place. For example, if the Prime Minister of the UK, that is Margaret Thatcher, proposes that he's going to achieve the Britain exiting the European Union within the next 3 years, if they don't do that, then they will say that I have failed, my organization was not disciplined enough to achieve this goal, and therefore I'm going to resign from this post. No. If it's in Kenya, and we have a politician who has been caught shooting someone. I'm not mentioning anyone. I know he has been caught shooting someone on video. What is the discipline within the structure of governance for this individual to step aside for investigations to take place? If today a CEO is accused of sexual harassment, we are not saying that he is a sexual offender, but you've been accused of sexual harassment. Is there space or discipline for this investigation to take place? Of course, I normally like to say that the due process must be taken. Due process must be what? Must be investigated. Ama, you should believe ladies. Should you believe ladies? You should not believe ladies. Ladies also lie. Sana, tena, even more than men. You remember the story of Joseph in Egypt. He was in the house of Potiphar. And Potiphar wanted the young man. Sema, nataka kupatia kitu fulani hapa. And then Joseph was like, no, bana, mimi nimechila together. And he was like, no, you must. And then Joseph ran away. And what did Potiphar's wife do? Alidanganya. Alisema that Joseph tried to do something. And Joseph went to jail because of that. Actually, together. I find the Bible to be very interesting. Some of the most interesting books that I normally like reading. Yeah. Some of those stories, yeah, they are shortcuts or principles of life. Most of those stories that you see in the Bible, they are shortcuts or principles to life. They tell me, I can pick any story and tell you about it in real life when inafanyika sasa. All of them. Hakuna yenye haijafanyika. No. You think that you have been betrayed by your friend. Pardon. There are people who are really betrayed by their friend. No. Yesterday I was seeing on my WhatsApp status some of my friends who have gone to Naivasha or nasikia nasema kwenda Vasha. Kwenda wapi? Vasha. And then somebody was saying, umeenda Vasha, lakini nyumbani watu nyumacha pia wameenda place nyingine. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. This has happened before. There's nothing that is ever good. Anyway, let us come back to this. One of these Fridays we'll have a class. I just teach you some of these things. The last point, advantage of bureaucracy. Number 7, yeah? The behavior of employees is predictable and there is consistency. The behavior of employees is predictable and there is consistency. The behavior of employees is predictable and there is consistency. So if you can look at all those points, yes, if you can look at all those points, you will see that most of these points are also borrowing from what we call the 14 principles of what? Of management. No, usijipata tunashindwa kujibu swali zingine za management. Swali za management lazima zikuwe kila semester. Lazima kuwa at least 8 to 12 marks. And the answers are rare. Why? Because when you're looking at bureaucracy, you can give answers relating to the principles of management. Advantages of bureaucracy. Discipline is a part of principles of management. Unit of command is part of this. Decision making and planning, no biasness, equity. All these are part of the principles of management. Ukiangalia your 14 principles of management, can you see discipline? Can you see equity and fairness? Can you see, are you able to see these things? Unit of direction, unit of command. So all these are part of that. Disadvantages of bureaucracy. Disadvantages of bureaucracy. What are the disadvantages of bureaucracy? Number one. Some of the procedures may be too lengthy. And may not make economical sense. Some of the procedures may be too lengthy and may not make economical sense. Some of the procedures may be too lengthy and may not make economical sense, therefore leading to time wastage. therefore leading to time wastage. Right. Number 2, it leads to lack of creativity. It leads to lack of creativity. It leads to lack of creativity. Because workers have to strictly be guided by the rules and regulations. Because workers have to strictly be guided by the rules and regulations. Next one, rigidity. 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 It is. Some activities cannot be performed. Some activities cannot be performed if the person in charge is not available. This happens a lot in government. Disadvantages. Rigidity. Some activities cannot be performed if the person in charge is unavailable. If the person in charge is unavailable. Number 5. It overlooks. Number 5. It overlooks the psychological impact it creates on people. It overlooks the psychological impact it creates on people. Number 5. It does not give room for participative management. Does not give room for participative management. Does not give room for participative management. So if you look at those disadvantages, number 1, the procedures are too lengthy. So if it is too lengthy, time wastage. Remember our first advantage. What was our first advantage? Our first advantage in bureaucracy was that it was saving us time. Is that true? The first advantage in bureaucracy is that you have to save time. If you have to save time in Amanisha, if you want to make a decision, you already know the procedure to follow in making a decision. And therefore it's easier to make decisions, better decisions. Now in disadvantages, number 1, it's easy to time wasted, right? Because sometimes certain decisions, we have types of decisions. We have types of decisions. Where did you learn types of decisions? Under management accounting. Management what? Accounting. Multifundisha types of decisions. That again. Also in quantitative analysis, mulifunzo tunaitwa decision tree. Uko decision tree. Ama niache kusumbua na mahesabu zenyewe. Hello. You remember decision tree? Yeah. So these are some of the types of decisions that we're talking about. So if you come to bureaucracy, a disadvantage would be that at the end of the day, you're giving a scenario whereby certain decisions, for example, strategic decisions. Strategic what? Decisions. We have what are called strategic decisions. We have what are called tactical decisions. And we have what are called functional decisions. Hello. Yeah. And on. So if it's a strategic decision, it will take longer and lead to time wasted. Why? Because you have to go through all the levels of management to make that kind of a decision. But if it's a tactical decision, it will take a short while. If it's a functional decision, it will be interstate immediately. So that is that. Number 2, lack of creativity. So why lack of creativity? Remember, creativity is all about being able to express yourself. So how do you express yourself with bureaucracy? Difficult. If you are a nurse, unaambiwa that this is the protocol to follow. Don't break that protocol. So there's no room for creativity. So you keep on doing the same thing the same way every other day. It becomes monotonous. And therefore there's no room for improvement. The next one, number 3, rigidity. It is not open. It is not open to change. Rigidity. It is not open to change. Why? Because there are certain rules that have been set there and you have to follow those rules. That's why it's sometimes very difficult to investigate corruption in Kenya. Why? Because there are procedures that have been set. And by the time those procedures click into place, already the person who was accused knows that they are being investigated and they make steps to remove evidence. Yeah. It's difficult. If, for example, the anti-corruption unit, what is it called, that body? Leadership, is it anti-corruption? EACC. What does EACC mean? Same East Africa. What does EACC mean? Hello, EACC. Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. I'm not going to say East Africa. East Africa. So ethics and so that organization, for example, if there are procedures that have been put in place. If I accuse the governor of Nairobi of corruption, they are saying that the investigation should take a minimum of maybe say 3 months. During that month, they shall interview the following people in the structure of the organization. They shall leave the following document. So imagine today go report that in Nairobi County there's corruption. And this organization has to go through this entire process. And it's only after 3 months they can decide if somebody is corrupt. What is going to happen? And remember, these organizations are not active. They are passive. They don't actively investigate crime or corruption. They wait for reports. Then they take what? They take action. So what would it mean? It would mean that if I want to EACC and say that governor of Nairobi is corrupt, for example, it would mean that if any information was to leak to the Nairobi governor, that you're being investigated. And they know that within 3 months there's going to be a report. So mmekuwa mkisikia ofisi fulani ilichomeka documents ikapotea, server ilicrash, computers ziliibiwa, mtu fulani. You hear these reports. Yeah. Hamutaki kuongea pia usipote. Hautapotea together. This is your class purposes. You are giving an example. So that is so it's very interesting that is that. So that is it. Number 5, to remember the psychological impact it creates on people. Why? Because when you give so many rules to individuals to follow, you limit them. And these individuals, if they constantly have to abide by these rules, their behavior changes. So there's a psychological impact of these many rules, and that's why Madam Kasoma the behavioral management. So that is that. So that brings us to an end to the second school of thought. That is the the classical school of thought. That brings us to an end. The second school of thought, which is the classical school of thought. We go to number 3. Number 3 is called neoclassical school of thought, or the neoclassical theories. We call them theories. The neoclassical theories. And at this one, we shall be looking at 2 persons. Number 1, the human relations movement. And then number 2, we shall be looking at the behavioral school of thought. Behavioral school of thought. Yesterday I shared a document. Umepata asubuhi? Asubuhi. I hope umepata. Open your WhatsApp. Hello, guys who are online. I hope you received the document. Yes. Yes. Come will receive, put your hands up. Mama eka emoji hivyo. Yes. Come will receive. Hello. Uliona? Leo asubuhi. The first thing that most people do who have a smartphone, wakiamuka, is that they look at the DM. Uone nani amewa DM. Together. So I can always be guaranteed that ukitumia documents asubuhi watapata. Yes. Sindio? Umeiona? Yes. Hata watu online wanasema waliipata. So that is the document that I shall be discussing today, the neoclassical theories. And it's a very interesting one. It's a very interesting one. Let us have a short introduction. A very short introduction. Say this. They were developed to address the weaknesses of the classical theories. They were developed to address the weaknesses of the classical theories. They were developed to address the weaknesses of the classical theories. They give a great emphasis to the man behind the machine. They give a great emphasis to the man behind the machine. Kumbuka hizo zingine zimekuwa zikiangalia machine, zimekuwa zikiangalia materials, zimekuwa zikiangalia time. Hello. It's the first school of thought that is now focusing on the man. Hello. Man. Yes. Man. Say it. The question of the individual, is important to the organization. The question of the individual is important to the organization as the group relationship. The question of the individual is important to the organization as the group relationship. The question of the individual is important to the organization as the group relationship. They relied on psychology. They relied on psychology to understand individual and group behavior. They relied on psychology to understand individual and group behavior. There are two schools of thought. Number one, human relations movement. Number two, behavioral school of thought. There are two schools of thought. Number one, human relations movement. Number two, behavioral school of thought. Yes. Tuchukue ya kwanza. Human relations movement. Tuchukue ya kwanza. Human relations movement. It's a very interesting one. Why? Because during this time of, what was it, 19 what? December 1920s to the 1950s. 1920s to 1950s. During this time, it's very interesting. Why? Because during this time, we have professors at the University of Harvard or Harvard Business University, and they are running experiments on people, not the bad kind of experiments. Hello. So we have bad kind of experiments. People start testing drugs on you. Have you received the vaccine, baby? But you are anti-vaccine. Ama ni opportunity ujapata? Ujafikiwa? Hello. Ujafikisha miaka ya vaccine? Muda wacha. Wacha. Hello. What? You mean? Bado. In this class, you're full. Guys, online. Have you been vaccinated? Hello. No. I'm the one asking questions. No, I'm the one asking. Why are you turning it around on me? Hello. So, hello. Now they are saying that there's a second batch, round 2. Ni kwa nini Kenyans have not been vaccinated? Of course, Kenyans have been vaccinated, some, but not all. So it's a question of why not? So as a manager, I'm normally interested in things like this because I would view it differently. I would ask myself, ni kwa nini people have not taken the step to be vaccinated? Yes, guys who are online have been vaccinated. Nice. Yes, online. Unaona mtu online hapa hizi kwa amekosa kuwa vaccinated. Ni wa Kenya hapa on the ground tu ndo wako tofauti. At 55 and above. Change. So, as a manager, behavior. What is the behavior of individuals and why are they not trying to get vaccinated? Do you know that's one of the reasons why wakati corona ilitokea, you saw Mutahi Kagwe, the CS, and the Ministry of Health, they came up with these two, not came up, sorry, let me rephrase my words. They brought to the public these two people. It was Kevin and who? Kevin and? The two people who walikuwa wamepata corona na wakapona na wakaanza kutuambia tumeona. Those two people, who are they? Ilikuwa Kevin and, oh, it was Brian. Oh, Kevin and Brenda, nice. It was Brenda, yeah. It was Kelvin and Brenda, sindio? Alafu wali huko kwa quarantine, sindio? So, why was the Ministry of Agriculture doing that? Or Ministry of Health doing that? Kwa nini? Yes? To convince people that this disease is real in Kenya. Why did they do that? You can recover from, to give hope, you can recover from. So it was a strategic move. It was a strategic move. Why? Because if you can have a sample or a representation of young people, and your general population in Kenya is young. So if you can have a representation of people who are young in Kenya, come to the media or public presence, say that, confess that they had this disease or this infection, were able to suffer the consequences of having this infection, went through it, and now they are better off, but they're still feeling some side effects. What is the impact of that on the behavior of Kenyans? What is the impact of that on the behavior of Kenyans? It is more likely that people are going to associate with that. So, kama jamaa alipata, pia mimi naweza pata. And if you're going to associate with that, it's likely that you are going to take care of yourself. No. So we normally talk about what is called coercive and persuasive tactics. Coercive and persuasive tactics. So even in the church, there is what is called coercive and persuasive tactics. So let me talk about a persuasive. Persuasive are normally positive, yes? Persuasive, yeah? For example, ukitoa sadaka, utafanya nini? Utabarikiwa. Ile mkono imetoa, itabarikiwa. Blessed is the giver, not the receiver. The receiver. That is persuasive. All together. Coercive tactics. Now these are negative tactics. If you don't do this, you'll go where? If you don't do this, you'll go where? You go to hell. So that's a tactic of management. Now, if you come to the government, Ministry of Health, they also engage in this form of tactics. And Kagwe tells you that if you continue behaving normally, the disease will treat you how? That is coercive. Threaten. Maisha. Why? Because they want to influence your behavior. Because if they don't influence your behavior, you're not going to comply. Not together. Then the police also use these tactics. But police most of the time gives what? Coercive what? Tactic. Fanya fujo, uone. So that is it. So if curfew today, and that's what you know wakati curfew ililetwa, the first few weeks the hiyo curfew, wachama walikuwa na nyorosho. It's a tactic. Hakuna polisi anamkanga asubuhi akisema leo lazima nipige watu. No. Police are human beings just like us. But these are tactics that they must employ. Because if they don't employ these tactics, it is more likely that people are not going to follow the rule of law. We follow the law, not because we like the law, but because of consequences of the law. And we follow morality because of the rewards of law, or the rewards that you're going to reap. This is law 101. Mulifunzwa hii under paper number 2, business law, section 1 CBA. Rule of law because of consequences. Unagopanga sheria because of the consequences. But morality because of the rewards. Ikifanya hivi, I'll be rewarded. If I'm kind, kindness will follow me. No. If I'm happy, the people around me will be happy. If I'm angry, I'm going to make bad decisions. So rewards because of morality. Rule of law, consequences. All these issues have to do with behavior. And now the question is, as a manager, are you able to anticipate the behavior of your employees? Because that is the question. That is the question of management. Anticipating the behavior of your employees. Because if you don't anticipate the behavior of your employees, it is more likely that there's going to be conflict. So how do you do it? These neoclassical theories give us an approach or a scope of how to deal with human or employee behavior. Chukua a human relations school of law. Say this. Where the classical management theories were concerned with structure, where the classical management theories were concerned with structure, and mechanisms of the organization, to improve performance and productivity, The human relations theorist, focused on the human factors at the workplace. To improve productivity. A leading professor, Elton Meyer, at the Harvard Business School, conducted the Hathawon experiments. Now, I believe you have ever done an experiment here. So she found an experiment. Would you find an experiment? For sure. You have. Hata ukiwa mdogo ulijua moto ni nini, kuna siku ulikai ukaangalia moto kashangaa hii moto mbona ni moto na mbona ni kama moto, and then ukiingiza kidole yako and then ukajua kumbe kidole na ukajua ni moto. Sasa experiment. So when we talk about experiments, we want to ask ourselves, how did this happen? Yeah. Say this. He conducted these experiments at the Hathawon plant, Western Electric Company. At the Hathawon Western Electric Company. And the emphasis was on workers, rather than the work itself. And the emphasis was on the workers, other than the work itself. The primary concern was studying the social relationships at the workplace. All right. So normally when you conduct an experiment, you group people into two categories. What is called say he had the experimental group and control group. He had the experimental group and the control group. So ukisikia experimental and control group, I believe you already know what this means. Yes, hii mlifundishwa na QA wakati mko nafunza mambo ya variable, si ndio? Si ndio? Niache jokes, si ndio? Mlifunza hii kwa QA. Ukifunza variables, independent variable, si ndio? Dependent variable, extraneous variable, intervening variable. How do they affect the experiment? And you are told that we have one group that is subjected to the conditions, and the other group is not subjected to the conditions. So what happened is this. Listen to this, and you'll be able to get what I'm trying to say. So he was studying the effects of lighting, class, and physical surrounding. So, say this first hyphen. Lighting was dimmed. Lighting was dimmed for women in the experimental group. Lighting was dimmed for women in the experiment group. But researchers recorded an increase in output in both cases. Lighting was dimmed for women in the experiment group, but researchers recorded an increase in output in both cases. So you'd expect, if I'm teaching SG day class and I'm teaching SG morning class, so if it were early morning kutakuwa na kagiza fulani, si ndio? If I switch off the lights, I'm expecting you guys to struggle in writing the notes that we are writing right now. I would expect you to struggle in focusing and concentration to get what I'm trying to pass across. But actually what happens is that if I switch on the lights, there's increase in production. You understand more, you listen more, you write more. That's unexpected. Number two, he extended the length of workday and eliminated rest break. Extended the length of workday and eliminated rest break for women in the experimental group. You can imagine working without any rest break, and then also the work day has been increased. Hello. How do you normally function hii kifanyika? Acha hata hiyo. Imagine this class is, niseme class itakuwa inaanza 6. Kuna mtu anatecha. Sio? Yeah, it's expert. Iwe 6 bona class inaanza 6:15. Kuja 6, wewe piga story mark ifike 6:15. If class supposed to end at 7:50, sio? Is that true? If I extend class up to 8:30, what is likely to happen? Hello. There's someone I'm sure is going to leave by 7:50. Mbiawe mimi niko na shughuli zangu. Si atenda. Hello. Hatujakutaja lakini umesmile. Ndio unajijua. So why is this happening? Hello. Why is this happening? Because of behavior. You expect, and if she leaves and you are friends, what is going to happen? You will follow. She's going to follow. Huyu jamaa anatusumbua. Sasa mwana anatusumbua. Anatusumbua. And you'll go. So, say this. They recorded, up to your point number 2, yeah? They recorded an increase in productivity and they were more satisfied with the job. They recorded an increase in productivity and they were more satisfied with the job. I've come to notice that as the semester comes to an end, semester ikikaribia, if I hope you're good, Adam. Yes, I've come to notice that when the semester begins, Students don't want me to extend class. Students don't want any extra classes. But when the semester is about to end, they tell me, let us have an extra class. Let us continue. Why? Why? Hello? Why? And then my policy is the opposite. I only have extra classes at the start of the semester. Those at the end of the semester, you tell me, Jipange. Number 3. Altering the supervisory authority. Altering supervisory authority. Altering supervisory authority. So women in experiment group determine altering supervisory authority. So women in experiment group determine their own rest break. Hello. Ukiachwa udecide utakuwa na kujaga kazi mara ngapi kwa mwezi. What is going to happen? Sema vasha. Sema vasha. Hizi utakuwa wapi? Hello. If you're left on your own to decide kama leo tena kazini, what is going to happen? Kuna form leo ilikuwa ijipatie lakini haujaenda, si ndio? Yes. It's more likely that hautaenda kazini. So that is that. What did you expect? Say this, higher output was recorded in both cases. Hapo kwa hiyo point number 3. Higher output was recorded in both cases. So the group that ilikuwa na a supervisor on their own, their productivity increased. The other group that supervise wenyewe, their productivity also increased. But you'd expect that if people are given their own authority, what are supervise? And that's what we call the mechanistic structure, because it was believed that the worker was irresponsible. But now we are saying, Kumbuka, this worker has been already scientifically trained for the job. The work has been scientifically designed. He has been scientifically matched with the work. He has been given proper remuneration. There is discipline. Look, I'm mentioning the principles of what? Scientific management by Frederick Taylor. Is already. So why would this person not want to do their work? They have been trained for that job. They know what they are doing. So productivity increases. And the last one, increasing salary of women in the control group. Increasing salary of women in the control group, while women in the experiment group maintained the same pay. Increasing the salary of women in the control group, while women in the experiment group maintained the same pay. Hello. So in this class next week or tomorrow, I bring tropicals only for the guys. And from thereafter, for the next 3 weeks, kila siku nikikuja, I bring the guys tropical. What is going to be your reaction? Hello. What is going to be your reaction? You'll question why I'm doing that. And you may even, tukisoma utakuwa niangalia unasema, ni kama sielewi vizuri. Mbona mimi sina tropical? Yeah. Say, it is expected. That's what you expect. That's the bias. We normally say that ukienda kufanya research, you must have a bias. Yeah, this is what you expect. Yeah, for example, there are more women than men in the market. That's a bias. There are more women than men in the market. That's an hypothesis. You mulifundisha pia kwa QA types of hypothesis. You have what is called a null hypothesis. Sindio? Huh? What was the other type of hypothesis? Alternate hypothesis. So when you talk about this hypothesis, you are giving what is called an educated guess. Until ufike pale, and then you realize, oh, actually today, there are more men than women in the marketplace. Why is that changing? At the workplace, you expect more men than women. But if you go to this workplace, you find more women than men. But then it will also depend on what kind of workplace are you going. If you go to an engineering organization, a construction place, who do you expect to find more, men or women? Men. But if you go to a hospital, the nurses and the doctors, you'd find more women than men. So that is that. So what do you think happened? Output went up in both cases. Output went up in both cases. Okay, so now that we know about these experiments, our most important thing would be the conclusions. What do we learn? What do we learn from these experiments? So that managers today can apply it. Number one, what do we learn? Number one, managers should delegate authority to the subordinates. Managers should delegate authority to their subordinates. Usifanye kila kitu. And I believe this is the same principle that was advocated for by Frederick Taylor. Akasema, patia subordinates kazi. Don't do everything. Number two, employees should be empowered and involved in decision making. Employees should be empowered and involved in decision making. Kumbuka, there's a group that waliwachwa wao wenyewe wajiguide to rule over themselves, and they still are able to be productive. So give employees some form of authority. Delegate. Number three, individuals cannot be treated in isolation. Individual workers cannot be treated in isolation. They must be seen as members of a work group. Individuals cannot be treated in isolation. They must be seen as members of a work group. Especially, individuals cannot be treated in isolation. They must be seen as members of a work group. These are problems that today's managers, I think, forget. It's a big challenge. Today's managers, they want to pull an employee kando. Hello. Wakuongeleshe, wache maneno na urudi kufanya kazi. But they forget you are not a product of yourself. You are a product of the people you sit around with. So for example, if I'm at the workplace and niambie boss, hautulipi vizuri. Bwana hautulipi vizuri. Ni mimi nimemwambia boss. So if niambie boss hautulipi vizuri, what is the consequence of that? The boss may approach it that ni mimi nachocha watu waitishe better pay. But is it that so? Probably ni mimi nimechochwa. Kumbe mchochaji yako uko ndani, si mimi. Yes. So what would happen? The manager would pull me aside and say, wewe, wache maneno. Na usipoache maneno nitakufuta kazi. Na nivute kazi, na niende. And then what would happen? What would happen is that because this one individual has been kicked out, he's still in communication with the other individuals. Mbona ujangi jobs please? Iliambia boss atulipi vizuri, atuongezeka kitu. Akasema, amebidi niachilie. And then the guys will react. Apana. And then the workplace becomes chaos. All the guys will say, apana, fanya kazi. Yeah, fanya kazi. And what is going to happen? You should have listened to that one individual, then treated what he told you as a symptom of the group. So you'd want now to investigate, why is this one individual complaining about the salary? And then you take the group and investigate, is it among all the group? Even if it's so, then it means all of them require that raise. And then you address that issue. As of now, I cannot give you a salary increase, but within the next 3 months, I guarantee you need to increase salary by 2 or 3, 4%. Hello. You have one lady coming in your office as a manager, Kevo nilipita ka grab land. Are you together? Sasa to grab land. I'm speaking in parables. Are you together? Nilikuwa nimepita Kevo akafanya nini? Aka grab land. So as a manager, would it mean that ni Kevin peke yake wana grab land? Maybe niyo siku Kevin. Maybe kuna watu na grabbing land but she doesn't mind. No. No. Akipita brother grab land anacheka. No. Akipita Mutua akigrab land anacheka. But if Kevin grabs land anacheka. So would it mean that the issue is grabbing land, or is the issue Kevin is the one who grabbed land? The question will be that she has a problem with Kevin. So then the question arises, is the group sensitized on working place ethics? No. So if when the manager says no, make it to office, and one lady comes to you and akwambia kitu fulani imenifanyikia, does it mean that probably the other ladies have suffered the same, but they never came to you? And that's one main issues at the workplace sometimes are not addressed because men suffer certain issues at the workplace. But if one man comes to you and tells you as a manager, hey, these ladies here are not dressing properly. One man tells you that. Probably you should treat it as a symptom that all the men there might view that the women are not dressing properly and address that issue for the group. Because if you treat it as an individual, leo ni huyu, alafu uamue kudili na yeye umfukuze, next time ni mtu mwingine umfukuze. So you end up losing good employees. Why? Because you treated individual cases as individual cases rather than as a symptom of the what? Of the group. Group dynamics. We have a culture of fear. Fear. Watu wanaogopanga to speak out. See that? People fear to speak out. So if she goes to the academics officer, say, your class, your class, the academics officer should be like, we are Larry, good, I've noted it down. Then let me get the lecture. Wait, who said my Larry? Okay, Tebu, fine, even. But the question is, if she's the one who has come forward, what about the rest of the group? Maybe see, so we have a culture of fear. We have a culture of fear whereby if you speak out, you suffer the consequences. And it is a culture that has been practiced since primary school to secondary school to universities to college. In primary school, if you speak out and say, atupendi kukula githeri ionji vizuri ame iko na mawe, what would happen to you? You are a student. Githeri iko na mawe, what happens to you? Tamoja kuja shule kukula. And worst case scenario, tafukuzwa. You go to high school. Hapana, amtufanyii vizuri, mbona hakuna maji? Nani alisema hakuna maji? No, you're not even addressing the problem that hakuna maji. Nani alisema hakuna maji? Nani anawaambia hakuna maji? Hapo kweli hakuna maji. Hello. These are the things. So if you have that culture whereby when individuals speak up or they speak out or they point an issue, they suffer the consequences of pointing an issue, it is more likely that at the workplace, there are issues that are underlying that may be ongoing, and as a manager, yeah, because look at this hospital in Athi River called Shalom Hospital. Shalom Hospital. How many scandals can a hospital have before we say, hey, Japana, something needs to be done? Hello, how many? Probably there's somebody who saw something, akaona, huyu nasa amekuwa afanyi kazi vizuri. Patients wakikuja na wapatia the wrong medication. Mara moja, mara mbili, mara tatu. It's only until mtu akufe sasa ndo it comes to our attention. Must we reach the extreme so that we address the issue? Look at Kenyatta Hospital. What has been happening at Kenyatta Hospital? Look at what has been happening in Pumwani Hospital. Hello. So you'd want to ask yourself, if a patient, and that's why Safaricom is so serious on individual complaints. Safaricom is so serious. I'm not here to promote Safaricom. I'm telling you what is happening. If they call Safaricom, niwaambie, kuna watu wamekuwa kinipigia simu, wananiambia hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi wanataka kunibia pesa. within the next 3 or 4 days, utaona ka message kametumwa kwa watu wote Kenya. Be aware of conmen and report them to this number. Because if they're calling this one person, and this one person has come forward to say this, it is likely that this conmen wanajaribu watu 100 or 200 people. So let us inform all our customers. No. So you are taking this dynamic of other one experiment from the employee and you're applying it to the customers. So that is that. Number what? Number 4. Oh, number 4. This only back to writing number 4. Say this. Managers need to be aware of the social needs of employees. Managers need to be aware of the social needs of employees and cater for them. And cater for them. And cater for them. This brings more collaboration. This brings more collaboration. This brings more collaboration. Next one. Informal stroke, next point here. Informal stroke unofficial working groups at the workplace have a strong influence. Informal stroke unofficial working groups at the workplace have a strong influence over the behavior of workers. Have a strong influence over the behavior of workers. And this point tutaiona baadaye tena tukifundisha change management. Change management tunasema before even you start to introduce change, we have leaders who don't occupy office, and those are the most dangerous leaders. Hello. Even in high school, I know you were in high school not so long ago, around maybe 20 years ago. So ukiwa pale high school, yeah, you used to have this guy. He's not the prefect, he's not the school captain, but akisema leo tunafunja vio zitamwagika. And you'd wonder, what is the power? What power does this person have over the people? Ama you are that person. Hello. Mimi nimekuja kujua nasemanga vitu na kumbe mwenye naongelelea hapo hapa. Hello. Why is that person? There is person in class like is not the class prefect, is not the monitor, but anasema hebu mnyamaze. Prefect anashinda mnyamaze, nitaandika nasemeka need. Nothing happens. This is mnyamaze. Yeah, that the informal leader. So wakati tunaangalia kitu change management, tunakuwa tunasema one of the 8 steps of change management, step number 5. The 5th step. Tunakuwa tunasema number 1. Number 5th step. Number 1, you should look at the informal leaders. Those informal leaders, they should be the champions of your change. They should be the ones who tell others, hii kitu inaweza fanya kazi. And that was what Kagwe was trying. That was what Kagwe was trying. And the Ministry of Health. Tupatia watu champions wa change. How watu waoneshe watu wengine this thing can work? Can work. So if it's this vaccine, where Kenya is not taking vaccine, it means there is no champion for vaccine in Kenya. Hakuna? There's a champion for ugali. Muone ugali. Have you seen that coming? Jamaa anafinya ugali anarusha anachukua ile jamaa. Is the champion for ugali right now. Unga gali. Is it Ajabu or Bazenga? Ajabu. Hello. There's a champion for aerial. There's a champion for Nitwaji. Hii inaitwa aje? Hii Huggies, hii kitu ya kufunga watoto. Hii kitu ya Pampers, yes, hiyo. Huggies. Who is the champion for Huggies? Size 8. Eh? Softcare ndo size 8. Softcare size 8. So ukiona size 8, Softcare. And if unatamani nini kuwa kama size 8, unafunga watoto wako na nini? Softcare, champion for change. Ulikuwa unatumianga Huggies, unacha kutumia Huggies, unatumia nini? Softcare. It's a champion for change. Peugeot, sijui Nissan, Rudisha, Kipchoge Keino, I don't know. Champion, give people somebody they can identify with. Hello. Nissan ni gari ya what? East Africa. But ikiwa Kenya na advertisewa na nani? Kipchoge. Ikiwa Uganda na advertisewa na nani? Akiitwa Uganda. Iko Tanzania na kwa advertise na nani? Are you getting that? So these things are very interesting issues. The next one. The need to belong to a group and have status. The need to belong to a group and have status. The need to belong to a group and have status is more important. Is more important to the employees. Is more important to the employees than monetary incentives. Than monetary incentives. Or good physical working conditions, or good working, or good physical working conditions, or good physical working conditions. Yes. So if you belong to a group, hello, trust me, if right now this class, hello, you can have a class right now of 10 people who are close together. Nana siku moja kuja class na wapate hakuna stima and they won't mind because they are so, hello, umefika class and they are all seated together, they are ready for you. Unakuja kuna stima na kwambia fuza ina shida. You have workers coming to the workplace. Sometimes when the machines are broken down, but these people are there. Why? Because the dynamics of the employees together is more important even than the physical working conditions. You can have the best working physical conditions. Mali kuna viti, kuna meza, kuna chai, kuna wifi, kuna nini. But wala jamaa elewanagi. Aongeleshanaji. Mtu anakujanga, anaketi, anafanya kazi yake na naenda. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrible. Look, people want to belong. Hello. Siangile ngome nasema ucheke ukiwa Kibera ama ulie kwenye Range Rover ukiwa Runda. Hello. What do you think that singer is saying? Sauti Sol. Hello. Which do you choose? Ulie kwenye Range Rover ukilala Runda ama ucheke ukiwa Kibera. Which one would you choose? Which one would you choose? Which one would you choose? Think about it. Think about it, really. And that tells you something. Tells you something that the relationships that you make are more important than what you have. Hello, there's a message I was sending to a friend of mine. Sisi kitafuta sisi kabisa nipate hiyo chat ni mrefu. Kesho nitaiangalia alafu ni start so that we wasome. And I was asking them this question. What are you lacking in your life currently? A, B, C. They gave them 4 choices. And choice D was money. Choice D was what? Money. And they chose D and they said, I'm lacking money. I'm lacking what? Money. You're lacking money. Why are you lacking money? He said, I'm lacking money because I don't have enough money. Okay, so you do have money, it's only that you don't have enough money. So the question was now, how much money is enough money? And they're like, you just give me money. Stop asking these questions. Right together. And then I told them, okay, I will give you money on one condition. Do you have A? And they looked at A again. They said, I don't have A. I said, okay, do you have B? Said, I don't have B. Look at C. Do you have C? I don't have C. But D, you have it, but you don't think you have enough of it. Hello. So it was a trick question. And it was very interesting that we have been raised up to believe that money makes us happy. And I said this is another class, and a student told me, please, acha kuongelea pesa vibaya. Hello, acha kuongelea pesa nini? Leave money alone. Money is not. Money is important. Money can make you happy. And I ask you this class today, can money make you happy? Do you believe that if today you got more money, you'll be happy? You'll be more satisfied in life. You'll be more content in life. Do you believe so? Hello. Hello. Leo, I know you are earning some salary, yeah? Well, Leo salary get what times 3. Let us give it times 3. Would you be happy? Yes? Just a bit. Just only for a short one. Only for a short one. Remember, in economics, you talk about needs, wants, and then you talk about resources such as money, you talk about time, and we normally say that as you get more resources, then your needs and tastes and preferences change and they increase. Hello. No, I'm trying to properly. This is economics, section 2. See that? Multiplication concept. Yeah, this guy is nodding. Yeah. Yeah. So if today you got money, if today you got what? Money, it would mean kwanza utaacha kupanda matatu. Utanunua gari, which means more fuel. See that? Which means your disposable income has increased, but you're finding ways to make that disposable income to be disposed. See that? You're looking for ways to use it. Hello. Today lunch, if I give you 200 shillings. Now imagine now having 1,000 for lunch every day. Now where will you go? Get peace, roster. Hilton Hotel. See there? True or false? Yeah. Then ukifika pale, utakutana na kuna pesa sasa. Utakuwa nini? Pesa. And then you realize that your money is not money. Now you want more what? More money. Hello. There's a place I live at. I was making a joke to my neighbor and I was telling them, what wanaishi hii apartment, wanakuanga na chukio sio wanaishi hii apartment. Gari zao zinapiga kelele, gari zao ni Subaru. Na tuko hii apartment gari zao ni Mercedes. Can you imagine hiyo Subaru inakuwa na kelele? The people, these rich people hate these rich people. Gari zao ziko na kelele. So the dynamics of life. So very interesting. And those are some of the issues tunaangalia sisi tuingia behavioral school of thought in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Here are the last 2 points. Conclusions of Hathaway experiment. Here are the last 2 points. The emotional chain reaction. The emotional chain reaction. Other than financial incentive, was responsible for increase in productivity. The emotional chain reaction, other than the financial incentive, was responsible for the increase in productivity. Among women in the experimental group. Very good. Point ya mwisho. Social affiliation affects the workplace. Social affiliation affects the workplace. Hyphen, worker productivity. Worker productivity. Yes. So that is that. That is it. These are the conclusions of the Hathaway experiment. Very, very, very interesting. And of course, they are going to guide us. Even today, as we manage, we will encourage people to form friendships. We encourage individuals to work together. Even in this class, I'm going to give you some group assignment. I know you may not have the time to come together as a group, but I'll give you some group assignment. 1, 2, 1, 2. What are online 1, 2? Hello. Mkifanya kazi as a group inamaanisha that if you're a group of 2, then Kelvin and Rita will maybe say work together, and then Kelvin does part A, B, C, D introduction, then Rita does this one, and then anamtumia aangalie yote pamoja, anamtumia alafu they agree this is the final product you're going to deliver. Through that work dynamics becomes more interesting. Hello. So that is that. So even at the workplace as a manager, it is imperative and very important that you encourage these forms of relationships at the workplace, but of course, healthy relationships. See now, healthy what? Because we have an healthy relationship at the workplace, and that's what we're not saying. Do not fraternize. No sexual relationship at the workplace, because when there's sexual relationship at the workplace, it becomes difficult. You can have 100 men in a working. You can have 100 men. For example, in the military, you can have a unit. That is your soldiers, 100 soldiers. Introduce one woman, 99 men, one woman. The dynamics of that group changes. In a change, how they interact with each other in a change totally. And that's what it is very a challenge to integrate women at the workplace. Because the men used to be at the workplace alone. Women used to stay back at home. See there? Hello? See there? So now women are coming at the workplace. So to integrate them with men is a difficult, because for the longest time ever, only men used to go to work. Look at this other issue. Wakati a man and a woman are together, relationship, man and woman together. Kuna venye iko, si ndio? Introduce a child to that relationship. Does it change the dynamics of the relationship? Totally changes. How you now interact because he's a child is totally different. And when individuals are unable to handle that, that's when people, families break sometimes. We used to be good together until the child was born. When the child was born, it changed the dynamics of the relationship. Because now, you're no longer my priority. It's not that you're not my priority, but there's a bigger priority. And for you, I'm no longer the priority. There's a bigger what? Priority. A bigger responsibilities. And I have 2 responsibilities. 1, 2. You have another responsibility. 1, 2. And anyway, these are issues that are quite relevant for today's managers to ensure that they have a better places of work for everyone. So having said that, let us go to our last school of thought. That is the behavioral. We are still under neoclassical theories. Ya mwisho inaitwa behavioral school of thought. Now this one I believe you have it. I shared the notes with you, so I'm going to be able to discuss it right now. Say this, introduction statements. It was concerned about human beings and their behavior. Concerned about human beings and their behavior. And some of the theories include, Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, Hierarchy of needs theory. B. Clayton alpha ERG theory. Douglas McGregor XNY theory. David Halen achievement, motivation based theory. E. Frederick Hasberg two-factor theory. Next one, Victor Vroom expectancy theory. EFG. Adam Stacy equity theory. H. EFGH. Goal theory. GHI. BF Skinner. BF Skinner. Reinforcement theory. Reinforcement theory. Yes. That is going to be our issue today. And then tukutana kesho itamaliza hizi theories of management, alafu next month itaangalia strategy management. 7 steps of strategy management. Next month ununue kalamu moja extra ya blue. Next month utaandika uchoke sasa. Yes, I've given you a heads up. Preparation. Communicate the change. That is normally the first step of change management. Prepare your people for change so that they don't resist. So these are the theories, and they all revolve around the same issue. And I'm going to discuss and give you short notes on only 2 or 3 of them. The rest you shall be able to read on, and of course, you will be able to read quite a lot. Just give me a minute. So let's look at this one. Hey, Abraham Maslow. Abraham Maslow. Let us look at that. Abraham Maslow. So Abraham Maslow, we talk about the hierarchy of needs. Hierarchy of needs. Hierarchy of needs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At the bottom, we have what are called psychological or basic needs. Number 2, we have safety and security needs. Number 3, we have social stroke affiliation needs. Our love, mapenzi. Here we have ego stroke esteem needs. Alafu kumwisho kuna kinaitwa self actualization. This one online, I hope you can see. If you cannot see, it means you have a diagram on your phone, the PDF, you'll be able to see the diagram also. In your diagram, if you look at your phones, there's a document you need to make us. So there's an arrow here that is pointing up. This arrow means that satisfaction at one level results in need for the next need, and then the next one, and then the next, and then the next one. We start at the basic level. We must have food. Hello. We must have, skip a line and say this, basic needs. Basic needs. Food. Shelter. Basic needs. Food. Shelter. Clothing. Air. Rest, activity. And sex. Food. Shelter. Clothing. Air, rest, activity, and sex. Those are the basic needs. We need them. Bila hizo, we cannot function. Hello, we need them. Mandatory. So, as a manager, what is the issue? Say this, start. Manager can influence employees' behavior at this level. Studies. Managers can influence employee behaviors at this level by paying them favorable wages and salaries. Managers can influence employees' behavior at this level by paying them favorable wages and salaries. By paying them favorable wages and salaries, and providing them with housing. But yeah, Jama, this is your goal as a manager. If your employee does not have the basic needs, they cannot function. Hello. You see, and that's why as you grow older at the workplace, they tend to increase your salary. Why? Because they believe now you must be able to take care of your family. Yeah. An older person earns more than a younger person at the workplace. Should be so. Imagine a nurse who is 20 years old and a nurse who is 40 years old. You can't be earning the same pay, surely. One must be having certain benefits because they have a family. And if they don't receive these benefits, what's likely to happen? They're going to be frustrated. Hello. Number 2, safety and security. The freedom from physical harm or injury. The freedom from physical harm or injury. The freedom from physical harm or injury. To enjoy the basic needs. To enjoy the basic needs. Now that you have food, you want to eat your food. Now that you have a very nice house, you don't want anybody
Hello. And that's what tukiongezea Kelvin salary. Kelvin anahama. Anatoka Dono anaenda Kileleshwa, si ndio? Yeah. Anasema sasa unajua huwezi kuwa unatembea na watch, cold watch hiyo mtaa. Oh, unaweza pigwa bwana. No, unawezi pa Benz pale Dono, unaweza pata imengoloa tiles, si ndio? But akiwa Dono alikuwa na park Subaru bila shida. Subaru yako iko pale hauna maneno. But patia Kelvin 500,000 per month. Sema we acha mata niambia. So you go somewhere else. Say this. Managers can provide safety at the workplace. Managers can provide safety at the workplace by guaranteeing security of workers, stability of tenure, providing pension, and gratitude for securities, Look at that. So as a manager, you want to make your people feel secure. No. Sitakuja kazi na sisi hata simu yangu juu ya meza, simu yangu itaibiwa. Sisi charge simu. Sisi kuja na vitu mzuri kazini, naogopa no, you must give me security. I must see soldier there. I must, these things must be there. Hata kazini kwenye kuna security, si ndio? Because if you don't feel secure, you're not going to work. Tuko na wasiwasi. Aha. Number 3, social/affiliation needs. The needs relating to love, a sense of belonging, affection, and association. So umeshiba kwa sawa. You have security. So nataka mapenzi. Who am I going to share with these resources? Hello. And that's what when men are trying to date women, number 1, they feed them. Hello. Nampeleka KFC. Nampeleka pizza hii. Umuoneshe number 1, I can feed you. Basic what? Basic. Number 2, I can protect you, safety and security. And now number 3, let us share this love. Need for love. You can't love on an empty stomach. And that's why it's very difficult. Wakati you don't have resources to be in love. Hello. Shijaribu kuwa na mapenzi na ina pesa. Not pesa necessarily, but basic needs. Love is blind for sure, sikatai. Bibi nakupenda lakini tabidi tumeachana. Hello. It's very difficult. Hello. There's an uncle of mine who was telling me a joke. That when you're in a relationship with a woman, yes, because nowadays people have all sorts of relationships. Yeah? When you're in a relationship with a woman, yes, and you lose your job, you lose your what? Your job, and your wife tells you, "Don't worry, you're going to go through this, and you're going to sell some things that we don't need." So she's talking about you. I forget that. She's talking about you. So you must always be ready to provide. Men have 4 P's. And one of the 4 P's is number 1, you must be able to do what? Provide. If you cannot provide, there's a problem. Hello. And when women are choosing partners, they look at people who can provide. Why? Because they know later on they are going to have children. And these children are dependent on their mother. And for the mother to provide, the father must also be able to do what? Provide. So they don't necessarily look at money. They look at the ability to provide. And And this is factors such as being industrious, being hardworking, being competent. So Kevin, when the lady is looking at TV and saying, this one can provide. Says he has a job lakini, amesoma, anatafuta kazi, and this one will provide. It can provide. Lakini mwenye ameketi hivi, unaenda shule masomo si muhimu. Hello. Unatafuta kazi siku hizi hawalipi vizuri. So if that person is relaxed and chillaxed, women will not consider that person to be a desirable partner. You must be able to do what? Provide. And then the next one, you must be able to protect. And those are all about safety and security needs. Let's go to the next one. Ego stroke esteem needs. Ego stroke esteem needs. Say this. They relate to self-respect and respect from others. They relate to self-respect and respect from others. Uko na pesa, uko safe, uko na mtu unapenda, respect means. Yeah, respect. Say this. Managers can enable the employee fulfill their needs by treating them with respect. Managers can enable employees to fulfill these needs by treating them with respect. By treating them with respect. By treating them with respect. Comma. Recognize their outstanding performance. Reward their outstanding performance. Reward their outstanding performance. Comma. Give them challenging task. Give them challenging task to boost their esteem when accomplished. Give them challenging task to boost their esteem, yes, when accomplished. Yeah. Patia mtu kazi challenging. By the time anamaliza hiyo kazi, it will have boost his esteem. That's what managers need to do. And then the last one, self-actualization. Yes, there are people who are there. These are the people who are going to tell you statements like this. Money is not important. Money is not what? Pesa si. Before you say money is not important, make sure you have enough what? Money. Say this. Is the highest level need. Is the highest level need and relates to the achievement of one's life potential and dreams. It's the highest level need and relates to the achievement of one's life potential or dreams. Managers can facilitate by giving employees. Managers can facilitate by giving employees an opportunity for career advancement. An opportunity for career advancement through training and development. Through training and development. Good. So let me stop there today. Unaona mali tunaelekea hizi theories of management. Zinatusaidia even today. These are the things that are relevant today. And I say, I'm going to give you an opportunity for career development. Nimekutumia notes which is on so that we know easy bit. And later on, I'll give you a cut. I'll give you a challenging thing. I give you a sitting cut. I give you a takeaway assignment to challenge you. And if you're able to accomplish that goal, you feel more. No, these are the things that are there. And there are things that are real for managers. So having said all that, tomorrow I'll be able to look at Clayton Alpha and Frederick Hasbard. Where is Frederick Hasbard? Frederick Hasbard. I'll be able to look at those two theories and then go to the last school of thought, which is the modern theories. Alafu, hopefully, even by the end of the class, I may make an introduction to what? Strategic management. That's how. hopefully by the end of the class, I can make an introduction to strategic management. So that is that. Any question? Any question? What's up? Yeah. You guys, you need to organize for an extra class. When are you guys normally free? You can meet Saturday, Sanam. Yes, Saturday, Sanam. Hello? From 2 to 5, or maybe say 2 to 3:30. That is 1 hour 30 minutes. Yeah, yes, you tell me we need to meet one of these Saturdays for one extra class so that to ensure that to go on track to complete the syllabus. Yeah, so have a good day and a blessed weekend ahead. Yes. Mulipata past papers, ndio? Ziangalia hizi tunasoma uone kama kuna some relevance. Kama kuna relevance unaniambia unajaribu kutuambia nini? Hata yes, ongezea vitu zingine. Hello. If there's relevance, then you read and answer those questions. All right, guys online. Goodbye. Yes.